So about a month ago, I decided it was finally time to upgrade our home theater slash game room, and I wanted to get not only a new TV, but a new sound system. So I went with the TCL QM6K, and I just went with one of their sound bars. During this process, Ultimea reached out to me, asked if I wanted to look at the Skywave F40 here. I've never had or owned a true home theater system that was larger than a 2.1 channel system. So they sent this thing over, and man, it is a huge upgrade. The overall sound quality, the adjustments that you can make with this, just the surround sound experience is beyond what I thought I was originally going to be able to do with this setup upgrade. They've really allowed me to take this to the next level. So a big thank you to Ultimea for sending this over, because this is an incredible sound system. And they've managed to pack this into a really small box, which is incredible. One of the reasons for that is the sound bar you assemble. It's split in two parts and you click it together and then it's good to go. But here you're going to get that sound bar, you're going to get the two rear speakers, and then you're going to get the subwoofer. So let's get some of the technical stuff out of the way here really quick. We have the 5.1.2 channel surround sound system. And with that, on the subwoofer, you have 3 speakers on the front, and then on the top, you have 2 up-firing channels. You have your 2 rear speakers, and then you have your subwoofer. Now, for those 2 up-firing channels on the soundbar, here they're going to have these neodymium internal magnets and 18 core large voice coils to enhance height precision and vertical throw. And then this has Surround X technology, so it's going to combine the 2 rear surround sound speakers and those dual up-firing Atmos drivers to build a 360-degree field in the center there. So you're using that with the Dolby Atmos to create a more 3-dimensional sound stage for your audio. And that Dolby Atmos is incredible with this for Netflix, but also for gaming, which I'm going to talk about again here in a little bit. In terms of raw power, this can peak out at 400 watts, so this gets plenty loud. And this has Bluetooth 5.4, so if you connect your phone or any other device to this, it's going to be very stable and responsive with that Bluetooth connection. But going back to the amount of raw power, if you were to use this and play music, it sounds incredible, but again, this can get incredibly loud. So you can use this for a party or anything that you want to, and you're not going to have to worry about having a bad connection with the Bluetooth, the sound quality not being good, or the amount of power not being enough for what you need it for. And for the frequency response, this is 40 Hertz. This is going to produce reasonably deep bass for this type of system. It's not going to give you that more tactile bass feeling to it where you get like a good rumble. That'd be closer to like 30 Hertz. But for the space you're expecting to use this in, which is going to be like a media room or your bedroom or something like that, this is going to be more than adequate. Looking at the inputs on the back of the soundbar, first here we have the eARC. With this is going to support up to 37 megabytes per second of bandwidth for lossless audio. And with this, it actually allows you to connect this directly to your TV. So it's going to act as one thing. So power, volume, and input sync all automatically instead of actually needing the 2 controllers and shifting back and forth between the 2. Next to that, you have the optical input. Then you have a USB port. If you wanted to connect anything that has MP3s on it, you could actually play it from that. So like a thumb drive or an external hard drive. Then you have the sub out and the DC in. Looking at what you get inside of the box here, you get the sound bar, you get the subwoofer, you get the 2 surround sound speakers, you get the remote control. The batteries are not included with this. You're going to get your user manual. You have 8 wall mount screws. You have 4 wall mount brackets. Then you have 4 mounting screws for the speakers. This is going to be important if you want to mount this to any type of speaker stand, which I ended up getting, and I will showcase that here in a little bit. Then you have the soundbar power adapter, the surround sound speaker power adapter. You have the cable that connects the 2 surround sound speakers together. Then you're going to get the HDMI eARC cable, 1 digital optical cable, And then you have the HDMI right angle adapter, which I really like that they have this in here, because if you end up mounting this on the wall or you have your TV in a position where it's just hard to get the HDMI cable to it, this is really going to come in handy. Shifting over now to the setup process, this was very quick and easy to do. It only took about 5 minutes to get everything plugged in. Because it has that eARC, it immediately connected to the TV, and then it was really good to go. The next day I went ahead and got the speaker stands in. I do want to say that Ultimea has their own that you could get. I did go with a different brand because I thought the one that I was looking at, I could run the cables through, but the actual pipe that they use for the stand is not large enough to do that. With that in mind, I probably just would have went with the Ultimea, but I thought this one maybe I could run those cables through, and again, it just didn't fit. Regardless though, I ended up going with the speaker stands here because I don't have the couch up against a wall with any type of side table where I could rest them on there or potentially mount them to the wall if the couch was close enough. So with this, it brings it into the right position to create that 360-degree sphere Ultimea talks about that you really want for a true surround sound experience. And if you want to get even more technical with the layout of this, Ultimea has provided you a diagram with measurements of where the speakers should be so that you can create, again, that perfect surround sound sphere. Next, let's look at the Ultimea app. Here's the main page for this sound system. In the upper right hand corner, if we click on that icon, it's going to bring us to the settings here where you can change the name of this. And then you have your general settings down at the bottom. Big things here that I want to look at: auto standby. So you can change this 15 minutes, 30, 64, 8, 12 hours, 24, 48, or never. And then we have auto turn off. So you can change this as well. Display brightness. You can even close that so you won't actually see the LED lights on the front of this. This is going to be good if it's in your bedroom. And then shifting back to the main menu here, you're going to have your volume there that you can slide up and down if you want to. And then we have EQ, power, and then the source. Power source, pretty straightforward, but looking at the EQ here you have your 6 different presets: movie, music, voice, sport, game, and night. So you can click on any of these and it's going to change that EQ setting there. And then if you wanted to, you could then change the sound effects on top of this, where you can adjust bass, mid-range, and treble on top of that EQ setting there. At the bottom, we have surround. So on the actual sound bar, when you're making these adjustments, it will tell you what you're adjusting if you have that turned on. If you turn it off, it's not going to showcase that, obviously. But here, when you are adjusting surround, it will say SR, and then it will give you the number. And so you can go -6 to +6 with this. And so that's essentially shifting more volume to those surround sound speakers so you can hear them a little bit better. And then we have up firing. And so this is going to be those up firing speakers on the top of the sound bar, where you can essentially give those a little bit of a boost. That's going to go from 3 to -3 there. And then you have the X up mix. So with this is going to tell you what it's doing here. So it's used to control the Dolby DAP switch, and this is going to be enabled by default. Turning this off means surround channels are copied from the left and right main channels. Turning this on means surround channel signals come from the Dolby DAP upmixed multi-channel signals. So we have that you can change. One of the things that it does say is if you're listening to music, you're going to want to turn this off. So keep that in mind. And then if we go up here, you can actually customize this too. So you can adjust the equalizer here and then title that if you wanted to. I'm just randomly throwing different adjustments to this, but you can do the slider up and down here, and then you could title this and then save it if you wanted to. So now you have your own custom equalizer preset. And this is going to let you adjust the surround up firing and the X up mix as well. Or if you click on the style, I like this because it's a little bit easier. You just kind of drag this across. Do you want more bass, right? Or do you want it to be a little bit more rock? Do we want it more classical? Do we want it more pop? You just slide this wherever, and then it's going to adjust the equalizer based off these multi-points that you have with this, which can be easier for some people than going through the equalizer and trying to adjust every single individual thing here if you didn't want to do that. So this is going to be the app here. It gives you a lot of control over the surround sound system, but you also still get a decent amount of control just off the remote. So let's look at that really quick. So on the remote here, they've packed in a ton of adjustments. Almost everything that you find in the app, you will find here on this remote. The only thing I can think of with this is some of the adjustments to the EQ settings, where you can go into those specific frequency ranges and make adjustments and then save it as a preset. You can't do with this remote, but everything else for the most part is here. So at the top you have source, optical input versus eARC, Bluetooth mode, USB repeat, USB. You're going to have the EQ reset. So if you've made a bunch of adjustments with the remote, you want to then just reset back to default, you can do that. You have the X up mix. Then you have the adjustments to the volume in the center there, pause, play, skip. You have mute, LED dimmer with this. So the lights on the front of the soundbar, you can dim those all the way down or it will turn the brightness back up. Bass MX, you can bring this down or up. Mid-range, treble, same thing. And then towards the bottom, we have those EQ presets: movie, music, voice, sport, game, night. Those are the same ones that you found in the app. And then you have the surround sound adjustment where you can increase that. You can go to the +6 or all the way down to the -6 with this. And then the up firing below that, same thing. You're going to get that +3 or -3 for the adjustments. So again, almost everything that you find in the app you find on this remote, which I really like. So now let's get into the most important part here. How does the Skywave F40 sound? Really good. This has definitely taken my original home theater upgrade that I was doing to the next level. Now my family is constantly using this setup, where it didn't make as much sense before because our main TV downstairs is bigger and the soundbar is basically the same. This one finally makes this whole setup feel like a home theater / game room, with the Skywave F40 being one of the best parts. From playing games to watching movies, this creates an immersive experience with rich audio quality that you can make a ton of adjustments to find out what's going to be your right sweet spot for the type of audio experience that you want. The system gets plenty loud, so I don't think anybody's going to have an issue there. For some people, the frequency response only being the 40 Hertz, it may not have enough bass, but I think for most people, this will be just fine. It's really for if you want that rumble sensation that you get with something that has a frequency response that goes even lower. If you are interested in that though, you are covered with Ultimea because they have the Poseidon D80 Boom surround sound system. I like the presets here because they are all very unique, both in terms of the sound itself, but also how it's placed within the sphere of audio you get with the surround sound setup. The X Up Mix and Dolby Atmos are both incredible, offering a huge improvement over our previous soundbar in terms of the overall richness that the sound had. I like that the remote here has all of the adjustments that you can make to the system without needing to use the app. You can still use the app and it is convenient, but you're not necessarily forced into having to use the app in order to unlock the full potential of the surround sound system. Keep in mind though, the two things that the app does have that the remote doesn't. One is going to be those adjustments to the very specific frequency ranges that you can make for the EQ settings. And then you have the EQ matrices, which I forgot to mention offers up to 121 different EQ options, which is amazing. Talking specifically about gaming for a second, this has made a huge difference in the overall feel I have when gaming. Now this is going to be hard to showcase, but an example of how this creates a far more immersive gaming experience is when playing Horizon Forbidden West, just standing on the beach for a second, hearing the sound waves crashing, the wind blowing across the sand, and animals in the background. It actually makes me feel like I'm back in one of my favorite places, which is Maui. my mind mentally shifts to being back on the beach and hearing all of those same sounds. And it's such a crazy feeling to have it feel real for a second. It's very hard to describe, but it's like I'm actually there. It feels as if I was to just close my eyes and then open them back up, I should actually be on the beach in Maui. So the immersion that this can create is amazing. But looking at some other examples, we have first person shooters. You can sit in this 3D space and hear everything around you. And I think this can give you a competitive edge. And I know you can do that with a lot of headsets that have the 7.1 surround sound. But with this, I think you're getting two benefits that the headset doesn't necessarily have. One of those is you don't have to wear a headset. And I know for a lot of people, they like to wear headsets. I'm not one of those people. I prefer not to. Between them getting sweaty, depending on the material that's on them, or just the pressure on my head for long gaming sessions, if I could not wear a headset but get a similar experience in terms of the surround sound, I will definitely take not wearing the headset. And the second benefit here is going to be the amount of adjustments that you can make to this in order to, for instance, highlight footsteps behind you. And you still get adjustments when it comes to these headsets and the applications that they may use to control them. That isn't always the case, is one of the issues that you're going to run into. Sometimes you have to hope that the game provides adjustments to the surround sound within their own game menu. But if it doesn't have that stuff, you really don't get a large amount of control over your surround sound experience. Here, you now get to move the speakers wherever you want, but also change the EQ settings. Again, highlighting footsteps behind you, maybe making it so that there's less bass, more treble, so you can hear gunshots, footsteps, whatever it may be. Or maybe if you're doing a different type of game, you may want to adjust this so it has more bass. That would be an example of a driving game, which for any simulation type game, including driving games, you're just getting a large improvement to the overall gaming experience because it feels like you're actually in the action of whatever you're doing. And with the adjustments that you can make, like we talked about with first-person shooters, hey, I want to highlight footsteps behind me. Now I can boost the bass. I want a little bit more rumble. I can have it so as the cars are zooming past me, I actually hear that, or as I'm coming up on those other cars, as I'm cutting through foliage, as I'm taking a turn and you're actually now drifting. Like, you get just more sound quality coming at you. The nuance of it is really important to that immersion. And here you can hear all of it. But again, the customization is where this is shining, because you take that and it's like, what do you want to get out of that? If I want more of a rumble, you can just boost the bass all the way up. If it's like, hey, no, I actually want to hear a little bit more treble in this so I can hear other things that bass may kind of drowned out, you get to do that. Tailor this to your liking. Next, I want to do a sound test for the 6 EQ presets this has, and although you won't be able to really hear what this sounds like in terms of the surround sound experience like you would if you were here in person, I'm hoping at least some of the EQ variations with these presets does come across to some degree. I'm going to have the app pulled up so you can see which presets I'm switching between. Is currently the largest and most expensive monitor that I've reviewed to date, packing in some serious performance and specs. Like all of my monitor reviews though, I'm going to cover the specs first, followed by the in-panel settings, my test results, and what you can do with consoles before getting into what I like, potentially don't like, and the gray area before wrapping the video up. With that being said, let's get into the specs. The LG 45GX950A-B is a 45-inch ultra-wide OLED with a 5K by 2K resolution, an 800R curve, and a 165Hz refresh rate at a 0.03 millisecond gray-to-gray response time. I think Ultimea has an incredible sound system on their hands with the Skywave F40, and I can't speak highly enough of this thing. I'm no audiophile, but the increase in audio quality this has brought to our home theater slash game room has me constantly wanting to watch movies and play games just to hear how the F40 creates a more immersive experience. Now, in terms of the price, this is $299, and I will have some links in the description if you want to pick this up. I think this is definitely worth their asking price, but if you get this in time right now off of Amazon, you can use a $100 off coupon to bring this down to $199, which to me makes this a no-brainer if you're looking for a surround sound system. If there are any questions that you have about this that I didn't answer in this video, let me know in the comment section. And thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.